All right, welcome back to episode 2. Get my drink a little closer. And let's see, it is 3 in the morning, so we'll hopefully get better as we go. So if you remember last time, we were just a couple of fish away from some of the cafe orders. So I want to spend a little more time here at Elk Lake. We actually were having a pretty good time. And that way we can maybe have a chance at finishing some of those cafe orders. We have 112 worms. They start you with a good many. That's very generous. I'm going to hit G here at the administration building. By the way, this is normally where you would buy your map, but we already have a map because this is one of the 2 places that they start you off with one. You get spare float or spinning tackle. The one thing that's nice about the spare float tackle, I'm going to go ahead and get that now, is it... Did it not give me additional worms? So it gave me the bamboo rod, gave us the old fishing line, gave us a feather float, and it gave us a rusty hook, but it looks like it might not have given us any worms like I was expecting it to. Huh. Okay. Maybe you have to have less. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. It used to give you free worms. I might have misread the situation. But either way, we are fishing at 50 centimeter depth here, right off the dock at Elk Lake, and then we're also fishing with this spinning setup, the Heaven Creek Brilliant Colorado 14001, using about a 18 retrieval speed. Now, oh man. At night, I'm not sure. That's a nice warmouth, and we hit level 5. So we got a size 16 hook, and the hook is a much nicer hook, so I'm going to switch to that immediately. At night, I'm expecting this is going to be a little slower. Once it hits daylight, hopefully things will pick up. But, I mean, that was a really nice warmouth, so maybe we'll catch some decent stuff here in the meantime. It may be spin fishing that's a little slower. There we go. Yes, this is a red ear, and it's a nice one. That's a very nice one. Really happy about that. So we're getting, 3 or 4 rotations, and then pausing, letting it go to bottom. That has been when we have sometimes at least seen our bite come in. I did not anticipate that we would spend this much time here at Elk. I really wasn't thinking about Elk until maybe a little bit later in the leveling series, but it's fun to at least see. I mean, this is the newest water body, so it's fun to see some of this fishing that's available to you just right from the start, which is pretty cool. Especially if you are more into spin fishing, it's good to be reminded of this option. Like this. Man. There we go. Ooh, that's a big bluegill. 691 grams. Alright, next fish should hit level 6. For what it's worth. Which means we're probably going to level up on float fishing. Are we okay with that? Oh, like we are. Alright, level 6. We got some red worms. We'll take some red worms. Alright. It's 5:42 in the morning and we just hooked into something a little more serious. This is going to be a little bass, I think. Which means even if we do get a bite on the float, I'm not putting it down. Just, I will not be surprised if we lose this fish, but want to hang in there just in case we can keep it. Well, if we're going to try to walk it down, we're going to have to start moving pretty soon. Before it gets too far away from us and spools us. But we're still safe right now, and even though we're in the red, it's having a little bit harder time running on us with our friction brake. Never mind. Alright, it's letting us get some back. We might be okay sitting here. Wow, that's a run and a half. So because I do want to at least have a chance on this fish, I'm going to try to run it down some. I don't want to get to the point where we're getting spooled and then have to move. So now we can kind of slowly start walking towards it. The hope here is that the fish will now start to get tired, because If we walk all the way over here and it still has lots of strength left, then it'll just continue to swim away from us and spool us in the other direction. And there'll be less that we can do about it because we don't have it in this like contained area. So let's get a feel for how tired it is getting before we commit to this action. I'm so impressed that we have kept the fish is still on. Usually when it runs like this on this baby equipment, it's like starter stuff with, you'll just see that FGA pretty quickly, but our float over there is just probably going up and down constantly as fish come and go. Although I guess the first time an actual FGA happens, the worm will be gone, so then it will stop happening. Yeah, so this fish is already getting tired. I say that, or is it just against the shore over there and can't go any further? Hmm. I think it's, I don't know. I think it is wearing down a little bit. I mean, look how much line it's giving us back right now. It might be really tired. Are we at a spot that we can pull it in? I think so. I'm gonna walk towards this bench over here where there's no big things in the way, at least. And then we can pull our net out and just try to net it. Alright, this should be good. Let's just pull it in. Yeah, you can see it in the water. It does just look like a small bass, I believe. Oh, is that a largemouth? Okay. Okay. That was a largemouth bass. Interesting. I would imagine that our float over here, does it still have a worm on there? Wow. Amazing. There's level 8. So I didn't realize, I guess, just how much we had leveled off of that after that bass. Must have been pretty close to the next level there. All right, we're level 8. So we do need to start putting some points in. One thing I know I don't mind doing is maybe putting in a couple points and using a spinning reel. We'll talk more about points as we go. A lot of my early points are going to be into making ground bait, fishing with a feeder rod, but the spinning reel points are universal. So it's always nice to at least get a little bit more casting distance, which is the main thing that does, but I don't mind putting a couple early points in there. Bluegill. Man, no fun to miss those like that. Let's do it more straight out on the float, see if that increases the activity a little bit. We've definitely done well with spinning lately with that bass, but overall we've kind of slowed down with float, it seems like. Wait, it just said fish got away? Must have been on the spinning, I guess, when we put it down. Those big pauses seem to be working. There's another nice gizzard, by the way. Really nice gizzard. Oh yeah, we're getting a little more casting distance because of the points we put into fishing with a spinning reel. That looks like a black crappie, right? Oh, wow. Beautiful fish. Oh, okay. All right, we got it fast enough that time. Warmouth. Okay. I don't know what's happening. We could lose this because of the slack, but we might be okay. White crappie. I love it. Look at that on the drop again. We're starting to get the hang of it. We're starting to get the hang of it. And this is like a good, it's sometimes you need some limitations to figure something like this out. We don't have a whole lot of different lures to try. We just have this one lure. Using basic worms as bait on the float. And we're just fishing in this spot. We know that pretty active spot traditionally. A lot of these different species that you see me catching here are often catchable from this location. So just trying out different patterns of retrieval and different angles and such, and some of it's working out. And unlike, oh, that's a nice bluegill. Unlike float fishing at Mosquito or, yeah, mostly Mosquito is what I'm thinking of, where you can get crucian gibbles, which will just kind of nibble for a while and very tricky. Float fishing here, most of these fish, they're taking it pretty fast. And then the only question is, do I get to it quick enough to set the hook? That's more the thing that's determining whether or not we're successfully hitting these fish on the float. You see the leveling starting to slow down a little bit. We've had a couple of decent fish, and we've almost halfway through 8 now. Yeah, that one just took me too long, obviously. And I don't know where we are on these cafe orders, but we'll just give it a few more minutes and then we'll go, hopefully at least have a couple of them done, and can make a little silver. So one thing that might be worth doing if you're just getting started, and if this looks fun to you, but you mostly want to also work towards getting into bottom fishing, which I'll show you more of in the episodes to come, but this is decent enough, especially with the cafes. It could be worth doing this just till you can afford at least a couple of the bottom rigs, so that when you do jump into Mosquito, you can already have 2 bottom feeder rigs set up and your one float. That's not a bad, I mean, in the past, the way we would have done that is we go float fish at Winding for some of those really small fish that are, again, cafe orders and worth decent, pretty easy to catch. But this is kind of another way you could do that if you enjoy what Elk Lake has to offer. There are new worm types that are available, but they're pretty expensive. And I don't think, I mean, they are nice, but I'm not sure they make such a big difference that they're worth like saving up for. I think it's like 100 silver for the worms. And I don't know that they do that much better than regular worms when you're first getting started like this. I think regular worms are fine. Eventually you might switch to red worms. You could also try the like blood worms. Those are very cheap, so you could do those. That's another smallmouth bass just sitting right there in front of us. That's so cool. Now we haven't caught, obviously all of these fish weren't caught during this episode. Here's the break. So in the last 23 minutes we've caught those. A lot of time was spent on the largemouth bass. I thought if that was going to be a smallmouth bass, I thought it was going to be, you know, just a really big one, just how long that thing was fighting. But it made more sense when we saw it, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's actually a largemouth. I think that's the only largemouth we've caught, yeah. And we've had, what, 2 or 3 smallmouth? 2. It's nice that there's so many fish sounds, things jumping out of the water, birds flying around. Just kind of gives it a little bit more ambiance. Bluegill, especially tell with the little orange underneath. I wanted to try more out this way. I don't know that that's going to work, but just see real quick. It'll be nice when we can cast it a little further with the float rod, a little more comfortably, get it a little farther away from us. Huh. Oh, it's a nice bluegill right there in the shallows. That's kind of cool. Put it right back over there. I think we should cast the spinner along the shore as well, see if that does anything. Might be some good little sunfish over here. A lot more shallow, but yeah, another nice little fish. The upside down bluegill, a little harder to identify. All right, let's see what this is. That was interesting. Is this another bluegill? Yep. It's interesting, that was a little white crappie. So we're getting a lot of bluegills all of a sudden, which is okay by me. Hopefully we'll have a cafe order for the gizzard. I don't know if we'll have enough though. It seems like, at least in terms of XP, those gizzards are not worth much. That looks like a warmouth. Yep. Man, yeah, these are nice bluegills. I'm going to try to see if we can hit level 9 here before we wrap this one up. It does seem like kind of over here to the right on the west side of this dock, you're trying to specifically hit the bluegills. It seems like a pretty good option. This will be a little bluegill or warmouth or something. Yeah. I don't want to try this as well. Let's see what we see over here. A little deeper in this direction. Sometimes it's nice to go. There's a boat right next to us that you can rent. Sometimes it's nice to go take the boat just down into this like first step and then cast along here. That can be a good place to spin fish, but it does remove the option of float fishing at the same time. We're really not catching anything on either float or spin. That's going to be harder because of the stuff that's in the way too, I guess. Trying to just get a little bit different spot maybe. wonder if it's deep enough where we have it to maybe go down a little bit, put it at a little deeper depth on the worm. Yeah, I think what we've been doing has been better. This seems slower again. Let's try this again. Just as a reminder, we are at 18 retrieval speed, and that has been pretty consistently good for us. Trying to force this in, and it's I'm not sure if it's wanting to come or not. Is not as strong as the largemouth bass was. So if it's a largemouth bass, it's a lot smaller, but it's more than likely something else entirely. In fact, that looks like a decent white crappie, doesn't it? Wow. That's going to be a nice little fish. Speaking of level 8. Look at that, a 1.2 kilo white crappie. That's like you're getting in range of dreaming about trophies at that point. A nice Aquila for hitting level 9. Woo! That is cool. That is a nice fish. Alright. Float kind of slowed down. I don't know, it was better over here after a while. Maybe some tinkering we still need to do with float. Try some different baits. Maybe bloodworm, maybe redworm. I don't know. We caught plenty of fish on float, don't get me wrong. But at times it felt like it maybe was a little slower than we wanted it to be. And I can't believe we've already hit level 9. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So if you sort by weight, you can then use your smallest fish possible. So that's 8.68 silver. By the way, if we had sold these to the fish market, it'd been worth almost nothing. But this way we get 8.6. And it looks like gizzard, we are in luck here. So we caught the perfect amount for 9 silver. So gizzard are not always worth a lot of silver, it looks like. And then there's 6 bluegills. Again, these are non-markers, so they would have been worth nothing, and we're getting 11 silver. White crappie. We have just hit the cafe jackpot. Another 11 silver for these white crappie. We did have one red ear. We did not have a spotted bass or a peacock bass, and certainly not a catfish. And so that puts us up to 43 silver, which is big. And then we get another 69. Look at that largemouth bass worth 18 silver. So that's going to be our record silver fish, and it probably will be for a while. That's worth significantly more than even like a trophy crucian or gibble would be. More than a trophy roach. That is a nice fish that we caught very early. Wait, is it not tracking our statistics yet? Oh, yes, it is. Biggest amount of silver. Look at that. Other than float, largemouth is taking over. Okay, so if you look right now, what do we still need? We need the line, and we need the cage, and the line, the cage, and the bite indicator. So the line, it would be nice to get these. Wait, what size do we want? 3.2? How much was that going to cost us? That might be silly to spend that much. Like, we could do this. 35 silver. Do we need to have more than 100? Would more than 100 even... So at 0.2, we could have 195. 0.2. 0.2. Yeah, so we would have more than 100. This means we could... It's probably worth it, but it is a lot of silver at this point, isn't it? Or we could spend 4 silver. I'm going to do this for right now, but I probably, I think it's worth switching eventually, but this just saves us so much money. All right, so it's so cheap. Oh yeah, we still need 2 cages. It's so cheap to do it this way. So we want the, actually might get, these are cheap enough that I don't mind getting both here. Where are the cages? Feeders. Alright, so for most fishing, we're going to want the cage on there so we can put ground bait. But occasionally we might just want to put the sinker in there. So we still have plenty of silver. And now we need a second feeder rod. Just to have matching, I'll get the really cheap one again. Alright. Now we can put it here. And we should be able to get this one set up identical. We're not going to start off with leaders unless we buy leaders, which we might. Just trying to get it set up. Do we have feeder, leaders, and fluorocarbon that we are allowed to use that makes sense? Yeah. 3.2. Okay. So this is pretty cool. So this is what I was talking about. We now have 2 feeder rods set up. We still have 25 silver left, so it won't take us long to be able to afford a third. Although for now we can actually just either spin fish or float fish when we have these in the water. So whether we're fishing here at Elk, which honestly has been a ton of fun. Good job, Elk Lake. Or whether we're fishing at Mosquito or Winding, which we'll probably highlight a little bit of fishing out over in that lake and river soon as well. But now we can get these bottom rods. So the nice thing about these bottom rods, I know I've talked about them, I haven't really shown them in action yet. We'll do that next time. But the nice thing is they have self-hooking mechanisms where the way these hooks are made and the way we fish on these is you'll have a bell letting you know that you've got a fish on or that you're getting a nibble. But that fish, once it gets on there, it will self-hook and it'll stay for quite a while. So you don't have to be quite on top of it as much as you are like a float fishing setup. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you again very soon.